Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus Minnesota Vikings Week 3 game preview based on analytics. Each week, I collect all the current 2017 NFL team data in order to analyze and project potential NFL performance, and we are 2 weeks into the season, so it's not the biggest sample size ever. However, there will always be little nuggets of truth in every sample of data you see, which is why I hope you stick around to see what those nuggets could be with this week's matchup. And if you're new to this channel, all terms and definitions will be in the description. Again, if you don't really know some of the things that I'm talking about, or if some of the terms in the charts you're not very familiar with, the terms and definitions will be there, and also give you some thought process in terms of the methodology and those other sort of things. So, starting with this matchup. So when we start with the basics, so just the basic stat work when it comes to the Vikings and the Buccaneers, the data kind of overwhelmingly favors the Buccaneers. There's only normally this is just 2 weeks worth of data, but the Buccaneers is only 1 week of data. So keep that in mind, that this is basically based on one team that had 2 weeks worth of data versus another team that only had 1 week of data. So just keep that in mind when when I'm talking about this particular matchup. But based on how well the Bucs played last week for 1 week, was much more impressive than what the Vikings were able to do in the last 2 weeks. And by more impressive, I'm talking more so about a lot of different areas. But to start out, so getting into sort of the basic sort of stuff between both these teams. When it comes to the Vikings defense, the Vikings defense this year so far has not been the best when it comes to preventing first downs overall, whether it's pass or run. They have not really been the best in terms of that particular metric. By the same token, the Buccaneers have not been the best. On top of that, the Vikings, when it comes to their offense, they have been able to create a lot more first downs compared to the rest of the NFL, and also compared to the Bucs. And also they also have a better sort of overall offensive defensive sort of score thing. However, the Vikings just have issues when it comes to offensive scoring overall. So despite the fact that the Vikings have been able to put up a lot of first downs, they just have not been able to translate that into as many points as the Buccaneers have been able to up to this point. And also, in terms of defensive scoring, the Vikings are the worst in the NFL when it comes to preventing scoring on each defensive drive in the NFL. And again, I'm not saying that the Vikings defense is terrible. I'm not saying the Vikings defense doesn't have talent. What I am saying is in the last 2 weeks, they've given up more points on each drive compared to every other team in the NFL, and that includes the Saints, that are pretty bad. And some of that could have been the matchups. I mean, you played the Saints, and then, of course, you played the Steelers, who honestly have been kind of wishy-washy, to be honest. But the bottom line is that the reason why the Buccaneers are really favored in this matchup is because while the Vikings have been able to put up points on offense over the last 2 weeks, they have not been able to prevent points on defense specifically in the last 2 weeks. And maybe that might change this week. But so far up to this point in the last 2 weeks, it just hasn't really been the case. So that's basically what it boils down to in terms of this particular matchup. You have two teams that, you have one team in the Vikings that is just putting up points on offense, but the defense isn't really doing its end of the bargain. And that just has to change if they want to win games in the future. Then when you look at special teams data, this kind of gives it to the Bucs. The Bucs have been doing better when it comes to yards. Basically, punt return yardage. The Bucs have been better when it comes to averaging in terms of punt return yardage. Kick return yardage kind of goes to the Vikings. And when it comes to defense, the Vikings have been a little bit better when it comes to preventing punt return yardage compared to the Bucs, but they're pretty similar, and also pretty similar when it comes to preventing kick return yardage. Field goal percentage is pretty much the same. Extra point percentage in terms of both these teams is pretty much the same. Punting average is more so on the Bucs. But again, the Bucs are favored in this matchup. because the defense of the Vikings has just not been holding up its end of the bargain overall. They just have not been that disruptive. They've not been playing well enough to prevent teams from just going up and down the field with them and putting points on the board. And that is why the Buccaneers are kind of favored in this matchup, because of that particular thing over the last 2 weeks, and of course over the last week when it comes to the Bucs. So when we get to some other sort of things, when it comes to completion percentage, the Vikings will have an advantage when it comes to this matchup, because the Vikings, whether it's first down situations, second down situations, or third down situations, the Vikings have been a lot better compared to the Bucs defense when it comes to first down completion percentage. On top of that, when you look at the Bucs offense versus the Vikings defense, the Vikings defense has a slight advantage when it comes to first down completion percentage, but very slight. I mean, the Bucs are pretty much the worst in the NFL when it comes to completion percentage on first down, while the Vikings are almost the worst in the NFL when it comes to preventing first down completion percentage. So you're basically talking about a team that has had a lot of trouble getting first down completions versus a team that has had a lot of trouble preventing first down completions when it comes to the Bucs offense versus Vikings defense. The Bucs offense will have a slight advantage when it comes to second down situations, and also a slight advantage when it comes to third down situations. So overall, I kind of give this to the Bucs offense. It is only 1 week of data, but based on the data that we have available, and based on how well the Vikings have been playing in the last 2 weeks, I think the Bucs offense has a slight advantage when it comes to completion percentage overall, when it comes to the Bucs offense versus the Vikings defense. Now, when we get to rushing situations, so this is the Vikings rush offense versus the Buccaneers rush defense. The Buccaneers rush defense, it's only 1 week worth of data, but the rush defense of the Buccaneers played fairly well in that 1 week. They've been able to basically perform better than the Vikings when it comes to first down situations, performing a heck of a lot better when it comes to second down situations, and also very well when it comes to third down situations. This is one of those situations, and Dalvin Cook has been playing very well, but this is one of those, this might be the first sort of game they're playing where the rush defense is fairly formidable. So that's definitely something to kind of look at in this game in terms of matchups, because it doesn't really favor the Vikings rushing offense versus the Buccaneers rushing defense. It is based on 1 week of data for the Buccaneers defense, but they did perform very well in that 1 week. And then when we get to the rushing offense of the Buccaneers versus the rushing offense of the Vikings also have an advantage when it comes to rushing defense. They pretty much beat the Buccaneers when it comes to first down situations, second down situations, and third down situations overall when it comes to this particular situation. So both of these rushing offenses, I think, will have some trouble against each other in terms of the defenses of both sides. And then when we get to passing situations, so this might be the whole enchilada sort of situation. When you look at the Vikings offense versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers passing defense, the passing defense of the Bucs has some advantages when it comes to first down situations, kind of even when it comes to second down situations, and the Vikings offense has a sizable difference in terms of third down situations. So I kind of, it's all in the eye of the beholder. Third down situations are very important because, it's like the last down, so if you convert on these, you keep the ball running. You're not incredibly efficient. It's better to be leading the NFL when it comes to creating first downs on first down. However, it's okay, it's decent when you have a team that can, get that with a third down sort of situation. So, for the most part, this particular matchup kind of favors the Vikings offense slightly, but it's kind of even because of the first down sort of situation. But for the most part, I think this kind of lines up with what a lot of people think, is that the Vikings first down situations with the pass are not going to be the most conducive to getting first downs, but they'll get a lot better when it comes to second down and third down kind of situations. And then when you look at the Bucs offense versus the Vikings defense, the Bucs offense has advantages when it comes to first down situations, a slight advantage when it comes to second down situations, and also a slight advantage when it comes to third down situations. So overall, the Bucs offense has a slight advantage, whether you're talking first down, second down, or third down. So I'd give it to the Bucs in this particular situation. Now on to individual matchups. And the one individual matchup I wanted to talk about in this game is Noah Spence versus Mike Reimers. Noah Spence, of course, is coming off of a fairly decent performance against Bobby Massey of the Bears. And I think he might have a lot of success against this offensive tackle in question in Mike Reimers. When you look at the athleticism data for both of these players, Noah Spence is significantly more explosive than Mike Reimers. He's significantly faster than Mike Reimers, and he's also significantly more flexible than Mike Reimers. So this is definitely a matchup to watch in this game. This is a matchup that could have, a big play could happen based on this matchup, because of the disparity in athleticism between these two players. I think that this is going to be a big sort of crucial thing that, the Bucs have. When you look at the Bucs defense, again, when you go back to the Bucs defense, they've not been the best when it comes to sack percentage. They've definitely been able to get sacks, but not as well as other teams in the NFL up to this point. So they need to take advantage of the situation. Noah Spence especially needs to take advantage of the situation. So, but overall, how do I feel about this game? I think, again, the data favors the Buccaneers. I kind of stick with that, and again, it's really all because of the Sam Bradford situation. If Bradford was still healthy, I think that they have a shot. I even felt like, they had a shot against the Steelers. If Bradford was actually healthy for the Steelers game, I think there would have been some interesting, a difference in that game. But, if Case Keenum is starting, I just don't know how well the Vikings are going to do. In terms of that kind of situation. So I think the Buccaneers will win this game. I do understand it's only 1 week worth of data, so keep that in mind again, that this is based on the Buccaneers only playing 1 week because of the hurricane sort of situation for the first week. But I do think that when you look at the overall matchups, when you look at the Noah Spence matchup in particular, and you look at just how well the Buccaneers offense and defense have been playing, and also the fact that the Vikings don't have Sam Bradford because of the sort of issue, they're having to start Case Keenum, I just think that this favors the Buccaneers. Of course, my name is James Coburn. You can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.